Let's face it, Warcraft, as a real-time strategy series, is never coming back. Despite showing brief signs of life with Warcraft 3 Reforged, and another spark just last month with the remasters of Warcraft 1 and 2, and the release of the fairly chunky version 2.0 patch for Warcraft 3 Reforged, I think we can all agree that it would take a miracle for Blizzard and Microsoft to invest the resources required to make an actual new Warcraft RTS that would match the quality of its predecessors. I mean, hell, they couldn't even get their remasters right. Would we even trust them to make a Warcraft 4? Even though Warcraft 3 Reforged is in a better place now than it was when it launched, public confidence in Blizzard is still basically in the toilet. Diablo 4 helped restore some faith, sure, but for every hit, there are 2 misses, and when Blizzard miss, they miss pretty hard. And I don't think there are any signs of that changing course anytime soon. Or maybe ever. This video is sponsored by Songs of Silence, a 4X strategy game developed by Chimera Entertainment, available now on Steam. It's even available on discount right now as part of the Steam Winter Sale. Songs of Silence features 3 unique factions, a 15-hour plus single-player campaign, and multiplayer modes including co-op and PvP for up to 6 players with over 100 maps to choose from. It has a beautiful visual style that I think looks really darn good, and over 100 individual units and 36 unique heroes that you can use to crush your enemies in fast-paced, real-time battles that complement its 4X overworld. There's also an original score by Hitoshi Sakamoto, the composer of a massive number of games, some of which you've almost certainly heard of, like Final Fantasy XII, Tekken 6, and Valkyria Chronicles. As I mentioned before, Songs of Silence is 30% off right now on Steam and PS5, and it might just be the perfect time to jump in, as the 1.1 update is now available, featuring its first scenario map, a standalone map with open gameplay and fresh, unique stories. These scenarios are aimed at offering high levels of replayability, with dedicated challenges that will thoroughly test your proficiency. So if this sounds good, then check out Songs of Silence on Steam or PS5. There's a link in the description and pinned comment. Thanks again to Songs of Silence for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. But thankfully, as is often the case, indie games have picked up the slack. When huge companies with their massive overheads are either unable or unwilling to steer their gargantuan hulks towards the release of a risky and expensive real-time strategy game, advancements in technology and years of experience have allowed tiny teams of indie developers to do what it took dozens of staff just 10 or 20 years ago. And that's what I want to talk about today. 2 games that are picking up where Warcraft 3 left off, taking the influences of Blizzard's seminal classic and either A, taking them in a brand new direction with modern elements, or B, recreating it with clear-cut inspiration for a modern audience to either relive or experience for the first time. The first of these 2 games is Godsworn. Developed by Thunder Oak Interactive, a team of just 2 people, Godsworn takes many familiar mechanics and gameplay from Warcraft 3 and other contemporary strategy games and gives them a whole new lease on life in the way of a unique setting, altered mechanics, and gameplay modes infrequently seen today. Namely, a fully voiced single-player campaign as its tentpole mode, available to be played in both single-player and co-op, and going along with that, the classic skirmish with PvE and PvP, as well as wave defense, survival modes, invasion modes, and more that can also be played in single-player or with up to 2 other friends. When I reviewed Godsworn's early access release early in 2024, I was very positive about it. Despite it being early in development and not nearly complete, I was impressed by its technical state, its presentation, and how much content was included. It made a great first impression, so much so that we've since had a couple of multiplayer sessions of it in my Discord recently. This was actually the first time I'd revisited Godsworn since that initial review, and to be honest with you, my thoughts on it have only gotten more positive since then. It mixes the best of classic RTSs like Warcraft 3, and merges them with modern systems and features that we would either expect or desire in a new strategy game, such as a fully integrated co-op campaign, a focus on co-op in general, with specific scenarios and modes, as well as great performance, a charming and distinctive art style, Steam integration, and more. The most obvious connection to Warcraft is Godsworn's heroes and how they play. While you only get to choose one, having them level up by fighting creeps stationed around the map, as well as enemy troops, is very familiar. Now, they just need some item slots, and it's basically 1-to-1. There's also the similarities of how factions are structured, with a single page of buildings that's unlocked as you level up your home shrine through 3 tiers, and units that stay relevant throughout the game, thanks to later level unlocks that give them significant new abilities, stats, and equipment. I'm glad Godsworn takes influence from Warcraft 3 because combining those mechanics with the new innovations it brings is a great mix, and it makes Godsworn feel unique while still being familiar. I think my favourite of its mechanics here is how the shrine functions. This is essentially your town centre, but it functions like a king unit because if it's destroyed, it's game over, no matter what. Your shrine has inherent abilities to heal friendlies and attack enemies, which protects against being rushed right at the start of the game, and it requires you to have a decent force to destroy your enemy, even as the game progresses, which keeps things exciting. It also spawns your villagers at a set rate, which encourages exploration, as wiping out creeps will unlock extra worshippers above what your shrine is giving you. Finally, the shrine functions as a farm for faith, essentially mana that is also used as a resource for research and unit production. Idle worshippers will sit at your shrine and generate faith just by being there, and this takes you down some unique gameplay crossroads, like whether you want to commit more of your limited worshippers to construction or resource gathering at the cost of faith. Something I love about Godsworn is how it goes out of its way to bring in new lore and characters to real-time strategy that have seldom been seen before. A focus on bolting mythology is rare in any game, and the developers could have easily tried to cash in on something more familiar or enticing in an attempt to draw in a wider audience. But I think the uniqueness of its setting does a service to Godsworn by helping it stand out from the crowd, as does the overall polish and the breadth of gameplay that it offers, even now in early access. Because while the game isn't in 1.0 just yet, there have been a decent chunk of advancements since I last played, and even back then, it was no slouch either. There's been a bunch of new skirmish and scenario maps, with new gameplay elements and twists, a new hero, a gazillion fixes and balance changes, new features like unit multi-queuing, improved AI, and more. And there's still a lot more to come before 1.0, which is targeting the end of 2025. There are going to be a few new heroes, the completion of the 15 mission campaign, new biomes, and other improvements, all of which I'm excited for, and I'll definitely be reviewing Godsworn in full once it launches. Godsworn is a ton of fun to play, no matter if you're looking to play by yourself, or if you've got a friend or two who want to join, and I would highly recommend you check it out. The Scouring is a very new game that I doubt many of you have heard of yet. It's very early in development, but it's been available to play via a playtest running on Steam this past week. If that's not running still by the time you watch this video, then a more featured demo is due to be released sometime in early 2025. This game is different to Godsworn in that it wears its Warcraft influences a bit more on its sleeves. And by a bit more, I actually mean a lot more, to the point where I'm pretty sure some of the sound effects that, to be fair, are likely a placeholder, have been ripped from, or at least heavily inspired by, the ones in Warcraft 3. I'm not against this in principle though, as the Scouring is not made by some large company, or even a small indie team. Nope, this is simply one guy making a real-time strategy game that he wants to play. I'm sure once he's asking money for the game, there won't be any ripped assets. At least he wants to receive a strongly worded email from Blizzard's very expensive lawyers. Like the original Warcraft, the Scouring features two factions, the humans and the orcs. In the current playtest, there are a few maps, both factions, one mode, and a fairly competent enemy AI that you can play with or against. Yes, even this pre-early access playtest, created by one guy, is more fully featured than a $30 USD release by a team of people with hundreds and thousands of dollars of funding behind it. How about that, huh? But even then, the game is missing some of the key features it promises for its demo release in 2025. namely hero units, similar to the ones in Warcraft 3, that can level up and collect items, and a very interesting sounding action RPG mode, where an AI will handle your army, resources, and base while you control and manage your hero unit on the battlefield. So right now, in this playtest at least, you're basically just limited to building a selection of units as one of two factions, on a small selection of maps, and basically just spamming units until you overcome the enemy. But it's an effective early showcase, hinting at what will hopefully be available later in the year in 2025, but also showing some fun mechanics that are unique to the Scouring right now. Such as the mechanic I will simply be calling rooftops, where some buildings have a top level accessible by certain types of units, kinda stronghold style, which makes for some interesting situations, like having archers positioned on construction buildings to make hodgepodge defense towers, or having weaker foot soldiers be unable to be attacked directly by stronger units that cannot climb ladders, like knights. Because, as you may be aware, horses cannot climb ladders. I am very impressed with the graphical quality of the Scouring. The lighting via the day-night cycle is honestly beautiful, and the buildings and units that are available look great. It's got a slightly cartoony style, which I guess Warcraft 3 kinda has as well, with exaggerated scaling and movement, but I think it's a good compromise between serious and fun. And I can't wait to see how it expands with the magical effects, new biomes, and hero units that come down the line. You can apply to be part of the Scouring playtest right now if you're interested, otherwise expect a free demo sometime in early 2025. As you can see, while Warcraft as a strategy series may be at best dormant and at worst slumped in a 6-foot hole, there are still alternatives out there that succeed the legacy of the classics that we love from the 2000s. If you take anything from this video, I hope it's a sense of optimism that indies and solo developers will gladly fill the void left by the big publishers that established the genre decades ago. Whether it's a single person, a duo, or a small team, dedication and love for the genre and its progenitors often trumps unlimited budgets and gargantuan development teams, and I reckon Godsworn and the Scouring are both perfect examples of this. The amazing thing about gaming in the 2020s is that, with a bit of time, patience, and hard work, literally anyone can go online and learn the tools and gain the knowledge to make a game that they want to play. If there's something that you want to create that isn't available anywhere else, just go out and make it happen. These two games prove that it's possible, and if you end up with a game that you find fun, there's a decent chance that others will too. And thank you so much again to Songs of Silence for sponsoring this video. You can check the game out via the link in the description or the pinned comment. Thanks again to Songs of Silence for supporting the channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support me and what I do here, then you can consider becoming a YouTube or Patreon member for as little as $1 a month. And if you do, you'll join legends like Dakayo, Bad Ghosts, Sean, Grey Spirit 4, George, King Thickums, Pavel, Bram, Christian, Dan, Orion, Disroofkin, and my paladins, Johnny, Marika, Age of Cause, Tank, and Empyrean. So thank you again so much for watching. Appreciate all of you this year, whether you've just simply watched a video, whether you're a Patreon member, whether you've liked, commented, anything and everything. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great New Year's, and I will see you in 2025 for more RTS videos.